Alien Prince Valro looked upon the lone human vessel, the TFS Pathfinder, with aristocratic contempt. He had brought 50 warships to conquer a species barely out of its cradle, expecting a ceremonial victory. But in the next few hours, he watched in abject horror as that single scout ship, a mere dot in the void, didn't just fight his fleet, it hacked its way into his tactical network, turned his own weaponry against him, and shattered the thousand-year-old myth of Karth invincibility, proving that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't its ships, but the terrifyingly unpredictable power of the human mind. The Karth Dominion had a perfect record. For thousands of years, their empire had devoured star systems like fire through dry grass. Their fleets were massive, their technology was unmatched, and their princes dripped with pride. Every conquered enemy had bent the knee. When their scouts discovered a new species called humans, the Karth princes laughed. The reports were insulting. Humans were barely a century into interstellar travel. They still relied on simple plasma weapons and primitive propulsion. To the Karth, it sounded like yet another easy conquest. Prince Valro of the Crimson Spire was the first to demand an invasion. He wanted a quick, glorious victory to impress his father, Emperor Cathal. Valro stood in the command hall of his flagship, Empyrean's Claw, gazing out the massive viewport. Below, his fleet of 50 magnificent Karth warships floated above a small Terran colony called Eden 12. It was defended only by one lonely orbital station. Valro spotted the target immediately. A single human vessel, the TFS Pathfinder. A scout ship, Valro sneered, a grin splitting his face. They send a single scout to face my fleet. The arrogance. The other princes on his council chuckled. Prince Darrow, his younger brother, frowned slightly. Perhaps it is a mistake, brother. Perhaps they don't know we are here. Valro's golden eyes narrowed, glowing with contempt. Then we will announce ourselves properly. Begin the attack. Disable their communications first, and I want that human ship crushed. Across the black sky, the 50 Karth warships moved as one predatory creature, charging their weapons and targeting the diminutive human scout. Inside the TFS Pathfinder, Captain Mara Holt stood on the bridge, calm but absolutely alert. Her ship was tiny, crewed by only 20, facing a battle fleet 50 times its size. It was hopeless, yet Mara didn't panic. Her mission wasn't to win, it was to observe and survive. The Pathfinder was a stealth reconnaissance vessel, not a fighter. Captain, Lieutenant Vega, her first officer, looked visibly nervous. 50 enemy contacts locking weapons. Should we? Stay calm, Vega, Mara interrupted, her voice a steady anchor. Activate Ghost Protocol. The Pathfinder's AI, Nora, responded in a smooth, serene voice. Ghost Protocol active, uploading all sensor data to Terran Command. Shall I begin adaptive defense? Do it, Nora, Mara ordered. Instantly, streams of encrypted code flooded the ship's systems. The Pathfinder began transmitting its combat data. Every enemy movement, energy fluctuation, and firing pattern was being recorded, analyzed, and uplinked to deep space. The Karth fleet fired. Plasma beams and torpedoes streaked toward the tiny vessel, but the Pathfinder twisted and rolled through them like smoke. Vega called out evasive maneuvers as the small human ship darted between explosions, its shields flaring blue. On the Karth flagship, Valro snarled, his patience dissolving. How is that small thing avoiding full fleet fire? Lock on again. Burn it from the stars. But the targeting systems of the Karth ships began to flicker, sensors struggling to find a fixed point. Readings shifted, targets vanished, and false ghost signals appeared everywhere. Prince Darrow frowned. Brother, our targeting systems are confused. The human ship is creating multiple phantom readings. This is impossible. It cannot hack Karth technology. Valro roared. But that was exactly what was happening. Nora, the AI, was not just reacting, it was adapting in real time. It was hacking the Karth sensor frequencies, sending back distorted images and fake coordinates. The Karth weapons were firing on empty space. "They're scattering their formation," Mara noted, watching the tactical display. "Good. Keep jamming their comms, Nora." Enraged, Valro slammed his clawed hand against the console. "They're playing tricks. Bring us in close, I'll destroy them myself." The Empyrean's claw surged forward, its massive engines roaring. Its shadow engulfed the human scout as it charged its heavy plasma cannon for a point-blank shot. "Main cannon charging." Vega shouted, alarm blaring. Mara didn't flinch. "Fire counterwave signal." A pulse of brilliant blue light erupted from the Pathfinder. Space shimmered, and then, impossibly, the Empyrean's claw's own plasma cannon overloaded and exploded, tearing a devastating hole through the forward hull. Chaos erupted on the flagship. Valro stumbled, staring at the damage. How? How did they reflect our own energy? "They didn't reflect it, Your Highness," Darrow said, his voice quiet with dawning horror. "They predicted it." The Pathfinder circled back, its small railguns firing surgical precision shots that hit weak points on the disabled Karth ships, engine vents, sensor arrays, control lines. Valro watched, paralyzed, as 10, 15, 20 of his fleet went dark, drifting lifelessly among the stars. The Karth commanders panicked. "Prince, we are losing power. The human signals, they are rewriting our code." Valro's fury finally broke into terror. "Withdraw. Fall back to defensive formation now." On the human ship, the crew cheered, the adrenaline crashing as the enemy vessels retreated. The Pathfinder had survived against 50 warships. Nora's calm voice broke through the noise. "Combat data upload complete. Suggest disengagement, Captain. Fuel reserves at 30%. Shield capacity 15. Mara smiled faintly. "Good work, everyone. Plot a course out of orbit. We've seen enough." As the Pathfinder jumped into FTL, Vega turned to Mara, still shaking slightly. "Captain, we just fought a full Karth fleet with one scout ship. We shouldn't be alive." Mara looked out at the streaking stars. "We weren't meant to fight, Lieutenant. We were meant to learn." Back among the debris, Valro's surviving fleet limped home. In the throne hall, Emperor Cathal sat on his black throne, his eyes burning with cold power. 50 ships, the Emperor said, his voice dangerous. One human vessel. Valro bowed deeply, sweat beading on his brow. "It was no ordinary vessel, Father. Their technology, it reacts, it learns. They are not what we thought." "Then you will correct your mistake," the Emperor thundered. "Gather the royal fleets. I want their worlds in ashes." Valro lowered his head, a secret terror clutching his heart. He couldn't shake the image of that tiny ship, dancing like a ghost through his perfect armada. He whispered to himself, what if that wasn't even their real army? Far away, in the Terran Command Center on Mars, Admiral Reyes watched the same battle footage. An officer beside him gasped. The Pathfinder's AI adapted mid-battle. "We didn't program it for that." The Admiral smiled, a grim, satisfied expression. "Good. That means we're ready for the next phase. Send orders to all scout units, Operation Quiet Storm is approved." "But sir, if the Karth realize what our scouts are capable of." "They already do," the Admiral interrupted, his voice turning hard. "And they're terrified." Mara Holt returned to a repaired Pathfinder. Around her now floated 5 other small vessels, Hawk 1 through Hawk 5. Each was upgraded with an adaptive AI similar to Nora. "Captain," Nora's soft voice reported. "Long-range sensors detect Karth transmissions. Fleet movement near their border systems. Estimated size, 200 ships." Vega whistled. 200. That's not a fleet, Captain. That's a crusade. Mara's eyes narrowed, locked on the glowing red dots. "Send the data to command." We have to buy time until they can mobilize a true response. Nora's holographic face flickered. Captain, 6 scout ships cannot stop 200 warships. Mara gave a tight, determined smile. I know. But maybe we can confuse them. Let's remind them what happens when they underestimate humans. The 6 tiny ships formed a tight formation and vanished into FTL, heading straight toward the oncoming armada. Prince Valro's new fleet of 200 warships tore through space, their guns blazing with righteous fury toward the colony Eden 4. Burn it, Valro commanded his officers. Leave nothing alive. In space, the 6 small human ships appeared, forming a tight triangle. Nora, Mara ordered. Activate mirror field. All units follow. Weave. The 6 ships began moving with impossible coordination, surrounded by a faint distortion that bent the starlight. On the Karth flagship, all radar returned static. Their communications died. They're inside our network, an officer screamed. The 6 scouts darted through the massive Karth formation like shadows. Nora initiated a pulse sequence, and suddenly, thousands of bright, false signatures erupted across the Karth sensors. To Valro's horrified officers, it looked like an entire Terran fleet had materialized. Impossible. Valro roared. We cannot have that many ships. But then, explosions rippled through his fleet. The interference field had driven the Karth ships insane, making them target each other. Cruisers fired on escorts, and 2 massive warships collided, filling space with fire. Valro watched his perfect armada dissolve into chaos. Shut it down. Cease fire. But his voice was lost in the static being amplified by the Pathfinder. Targets are hitting each other, Captain, Vega whispered, all mixing with disbelief. Keep up the illusion, Nora. Push them deeper into their own network, Mara instructed. The carnage continued until 200 of the mighty Karth warships were silent, drifting wrecks. Only Empyrean's Wrath remained functional, its bridge dark and smoking. It's over, Darrow whispered, staring at the wreckage. We lost. Valro's hands trembled. His pride was shattered. Not to scouts, not to scouts. Darrow turned to him, his face pale. You saw what they can do. If this is what their scouts can do, what about their soldiers? The galaxy buzzed with terror. 6 human scout ships had defeated 200 warships. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. On Earth, Admiral Reyes watched the footage again. They're going to fear us now, he said softly. Dr. Aya Trent, Chief of AI Research, nodded. They expect predictable logic. But Nora isn't just code, she mirrors human improvisation, instinct, and intuition. That's why the Karth couldn't fight back. They expected predictable behavior, but humans are not predictable. In the Karth Council chamber, Emperor Cathal glared at his defeated son. Explain to me, Valro. How could 6 human scouts destroy 200 of our ships? Father, Valro repeated, their ships, their AI, it adapts. It evolves. Their crews are extraordinary. They outthink our strategies faster than we can create them. The Emperor rose, fury burning in his eyes, but a new, cold calculation replacing his old arrogance. Enough. Find out what these scouts are. If they can destroy 200 ships, then humanity must possess weapons beyond imagination. Far away, the Pathfinder and its companions drifted quietly. Mara stood on the bridge, looking out at the void. They thought we were weak, she whispered to herself. They thought we were just explorers. They never understood what being human means. Nora's voice came gently. Captain, where to next? Mara looked at the distant, shining stars. Home, she said. For now. The Pathfinder and its crew turned toward Earth, leaving behind silence, wreckage, and a galaxy forever changed. The Karth Dominion had just learned humanity's greatest weapon was not its technology, but its sheer, impossible capacity for adaptation. The Emperor slammed a claw on his throne. Extraordinary. They are primitive. They are young. You tell me these farmers and engineers destroyed 200 warships? Yes, my Emperor, Valro said quietly, his gaze fixed on the floor. And they did it without losing a single soldier. Silence fell, thick and suffocating. The council murmured in shock, their belief systems shattering. Impossible, Thol muttered, his voice barely audible. We have conquered thousands of species, thousands of worlds, and these humans, 6 scouts. Valro's eyes glinted, not with pride, but with chilling realization. Father, we were only seeing their scouts. Imagine their full fleets. Imagine their armies. Their entire species could be unstoppable. The Emperor's claws dug deep into the obsidian throne. Unstoppable. That cannot be. We are Karth. The might of the Dominion cannot fail. But deep inside, a sliver of doubt, cold and sharp, had finally taken root. Across the galaxy, whispers of the human scouts spread like wildfire. Other species who had long observed the Karth's destructive path began to reevaluate their survival strategies. The reports were unbelievable. A single human scout ship defeated 50 Karth warships. 6 human scouts disabled 200 warships without casualties. Humans are unpredictable. Humans adapt faster than anything we know. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassadors from dozens of alien species debated the threat. Some feared war, some sought immediate diplomacy, and some simply wanted to observe this terrifying new phenomenon. A counselor from the Varkon Collective argued, if these humans are capable of defeating fleets with scouts alone, then their full fleets must be capable of conquering entire systems. We must negotiate peace before they decide to expand. A representative from the Trellin Syndicate shook his head, fear masking itself as aggression. No, we must attack now, before they organize. Waiting is suicide. Yet, even they hesitated. Who dared challenge a species that could achieve total victory with a handful of reconnaissance vessels? On Earth, Terran Command quietly prepared. Humans didn't seek war, they sought survival, exploration, and cooperation. Captain Mara Holt and her crew continued training with the upgraded scout ships. They knew the Karth would strike again, but they also knew their unpredictable, adaptive scouts could hold the line. Admiral Reyes spoke to Mara privately. Captain, the galaxy now knows humans are dangerous. Not because we started a war, but because we survive it. That is what terrifies them. Mara smiled faintly. We didn't fight to win, Admiral. We fought to show them who we are. That's enough. Back on Karth, Prince Valro was consumed by the data. He replayed every maneuver, every pulse, every subtle tactic used by the Pathfinder and the 5 Hawks. They were not following predictable strategies, Darrow, he said, turning to his brother. Every move, every signal, every maneuver, it was instinctive. It's like they could see our fleet before we even moved. Darrow shivered. It's terrifying, brother. If scouts can do this, what is humanity truly capable of? Valro's claws clenched. We will find out, and when we do, we will destroy them. Otherwise, we will lose everything. He stared at the holographic image of Earth, unable to fathom how such a small, fragile blue world could hold such catastrophic power. Meanwhile, humanity was making preparations of its own. They didn't plan to attack, but they would defend. Mara Holt stood on the Pathfinder's bridge. They think they've seen humanity, she said softly. They haven't seen anything yet. Vega raised an eyebrow. You mean there's more? Mara's smile widened. Much more. Scouts are just the beginning. Nora's voice confirmed calmly, Captain, I concur. Humans do not fight like others. We fight like ourselves, and that is unpredictable. In the Karth Empire, Prince Valro stood on his flagship, Empyrean's Wrath, rebuilt and reinforced, watching a holomap of Eden 4. He had assembled an even larger fleet. "Father," he addressed Emperor Thol via hololink. "We can strike now. We can crush them before they grow stronger." The Emperor's voice rumbled. "No, Balro. We will ensure no species ever doubts the Dominion again. Bring humanity to its knees." Back at Eden 4, Admiral Reyes had mobilized a defensive force. Not a massive fleet, but 16 scout ships, the Hawks and the Pathfinder, all equipped with adaptive AI and human ingenuity. Their strength was intelligence and unpredictability. Mara assembled her team. "This will be bigger than before. They have learned from us, so we cannot rely on improvisation alone. Nora and the others will help us predict their moves, but we must stay one step ahead." "One step ahead against 200 ships?" Vega whispered. Mara's eyes sparkled. "One step ahead is enough. That's all humans need." As the Karth fleet of 250 warships emerged from hyperspace, the 16 human scouts were already nestled in the dark, chaotic safety of an asteroid belt. "Nora, prepare the deception grid," Mara commanded. "All systems ready. Initiating multi-layered signal distortion, optical camouflage, and adaptive interference. Estimated enemy confusion, 98%, the AI replied. Valro barked orders to his fleet, "Destroy all ships. Burn their cities." But then, the false signals hit. Thousands of ghost contacts appeared on Karth sensors. The Karth systems screamed with alarm. "They're multiplying," an officer shrieked. Valro stopped, claws shaking. "There cannot be more than 16. Reality twisted as the human deception grid generated a convincing illusion of an insurmountable armada. The Karth weapon locks failed. Their massive cruisers began colliding, destroying one another in the confusion. Mara's voice came calmly over the comms. "Captain Holt to all units. Engage simulation attack. Remember, our goal is survival and confusion. Lead them to make mistakes." The 16 scouts darted through the fleet like motes of dust, weaving and dodging. For hours, the Karth struggled, their every attack turned against them. Valro watched in terror as he realized the truth: these humans, they are learning our tactics. Every time we adapt, they counter it instantly. By the end of the night, over 100 Karth warships were neutralized, victims of friendly fire, EMP pulses, or strategic trap zones. Valro's fleet was in full retreat, shaken and utterly humiliated. "Brother," Darrow gasped, smoke filling the bridge. "They are a force unlike anything we have faced. The Empire cannot defeat them." Valro's voice was a trembling whisper. "They are not just scouts. They are a storm." Back at Eden 4, humanity celebrated quietly. No cities were destroyed. No soldiers were lost. Admiral Reyes met Mara and her crew. "You've proven a lesson to the galaxy, Captain. Humans cannot be underestimated." "We didn't fight to destroy," Mara said. "We fought to survive and to show them who we are." Dr. Trent stepped forward, her eyes glowing with intellectual excitement. "The Karth have technology, but they lack human adaptability. They can build perfection, but we thrive in chaos. That is why we win. We are not stronger, we are simply better at being alive." Far away, Emperor Thol seethed. 6 ships. How can a species of farmers and engineers destroy my fleets twice? Prince Valro bowed, defeat etched onto his soul. "They are unlike anything we've faced, Father. Their minds, their instincts. The Dominion cannot defeat them with sheer force alone." Thola's eyes narrowed. "Then we will learn from them. And when we do, humanity will kneel before Karth." But deep inside, the Emperor knew. The humans were not like any species before. Their unpredictability, instinct, and resilience were traits no Karth strategy could anticipate. On the Pathfinder, Mara looked out at the silent stars. "They'll try again," Vega said quietly. Mara smiled, a fierce, triumphant look that promised endless battle yet offered the quiet certainty of victory. Maybe. But humans don't fight the same way as other species. We survive. We adapt. We learn. And when they face the full human spirit, they will know fear. Nora's holographic face flickered with quiet agreement. Captain, humans are unpredictable. That is their greatest weapon. Exactly, Nora. And that will keep us alive, always. The scouts powered up their engines and jumped into hyperspace, leaving the shattered Karth fleet behind. The galaxy watched in awe, whispering the name of a young species that had changed everything. Humans. For the first time, the ancient alien empires understood something terrifying and beautiful. Humanity was unstoppable, not because of its power, but because of its infinite capacity to become whatever it needed to be to survive. The war had not been won by fleets, but by the relentless, adaptive spirit of the human mind. And they were only just beginning. Let this message ignite your faith, rekindle your hope, and spur you to stand firm on your journey. Thank you for staying with me to the end. If this story stirred your heart, drop a like, share this video with someone who needs it, and hit that subscribe button to catch more content like this. May God's blessings overflow in your life, and I'll see you soon.